Good morning, everyone. I am Kamala Rampersad Silva, Chief Executive Officer of the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this exciting conference today as we look at governance of small states, where we would examine the impact of emerging technologies such as blockchain and AI on small states, as well as issues relating to ESG, the climate agenda, and sustainability. And more so, we would be discussing the potential for an alliance of small states where we can share lessons learned and support each other as we navigate a world that is growing in complexity. We are live on LinkedIn this morning, and so I want to say a very special thank you to our social media support, Warren Anderson, for the excellent job he is doing and for managing today's live stream. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I would like to share that the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute is a nonprofit membership organization, and we welcome everyone who wishes to join us in our purpose of improving corporate governance practices in the region. We are pleased to share that our membership reflects persons from Barbados, Belize, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Martin, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the British Virgin Islands, and Trinidad and Tobago. So if you are not yet a member, do consider joining us and actively contribute to the conversation on how we can improve leadership and governance to achieve sustainable outcomes. Persons may join as individual members, or your companies may choose to pay for bundle membership, which can cover from 6 to 12 members. There are lots of benefits to being part of a vibrant organization like ours, including benefits, discounts to our training programs. And in fact, this year, we have offered a 50% discount to all of our members for the many workshops and events we have had. So I'm inviting you to visit our website for details on all the events we have coming up, including our Certificate in Corporate Governance program, which would be offered in October. Today's conference is a very important collaborative effort. It all began with a discussion I had with Charlotte Valeur about almost 2 years ago. I think it was Charlotte. Now, Charlotte is a global governance consultant. She's originally from Denmark. Professor Garrett had reminded me of that just a few days ago. And Charlotte had also served as chairman of the Institute of Directors in the UK. She had expressed this desire to me that there should be an alliance among small states, particularly to support our small governance institutes. And then earlier this year, Professor Bob Garrett recommended this amazing book entitled The Small States Club. The conference today is really inspired by both of those things coming together, but more so this book in which the former president of Armenia highlighted his personal observation on how small countries were guided by strong leaders to build great societies despite harrowing circumstances. In particular, Mr. Amen Sarkisian advises that to thrive, small states must confront realities honestly. He states on page 238, and I quote, "They must discard delusions and reject deception and elect to be candid in all their dealings. Pretense and dishonesty are incompatible with sustained success. The commitment of leadership to open communication with their citizens breeds trust and facilitates informed decision-making and creates and strengthens a shared sense of purpose. In pursuit of purpose," he says, states must pragmatically assess their advantages and disadvantages. These are great lessons for us in the Caribbean region, and so we are so pleased that today's conference includes speakers from several of those small states mentioned in the book, including Botswana, Switzerland, and the United Arab Emirates. As stated earlier, This conference would discuss the potential for creating an alliance of small states. But also, we have included 2 panel discussions, which will examine some of the current evolving challenges for us. So, for instance, we examine the impact of technology, particularly AI and blockchain, as well as ESG and impact of climate change on our small states. These discussions are crucial for us to do. As Mr. Sarkisian says, be candid, be alert to the challenges, build trust, and a shared purpose to overcome challenges. I'm extremely excited about all that we have in store today, and I'm thankful to all of you, particularly our members of CCGI who have joined us today for this groundbreaking session. So just before I go in to introduce the opening segment, I want to make our usual housekeeping announcements. Firstly, please ensure your name is correctly captured on your screens. We are in a virtual room together, which allows each of us to engage freely and access other participants. So we need to ensure that everyone is easily identifiable. Also, we ask you to keep your microphones on mute unless you are invited to speak. When you do, please ensure you mute your microphone again when you are done to minimize any disruptive noises from your background. And of course, you can make comments or post questions in the chat feature during the conference, and we will bring it to the attention of the moderators. Finally, we will put a survey link towards the end of today's session, and we would appreciate if you take 2 minutes to give us your feedback, please. Just before I introduce our moderator for today, I want to also acknowledge CCGI's staff who are offering online support today. That is Amelia Ragbir, Dana Marie Prasad, and Laura Sinanan. Also, we have recently had to restart our Facebook page, and so I want to ask Laura to put the link to our Facebook page in the chat. And I would appreciate those of you who don't yet follow us on Facebook, if you can click on that link when you get a minute to like and follow us, okay? So we will be continuing live this morning. The live stream will remain on for about half of this morning's opening segment. Then we switch back to private mode for the rest of the conference. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our chairman, Mr. Nigel Romano, who will serve as the moderator for this opening segment. His full bio is in the agenda that was sent to you this morning. So if anyone does not have the agenda, please indicate to us so it can be placed in the chat for you. And I'm saying this because I want to deviate from the written profile that we have to Nigel to say that not only is he a chartered accountant and an expert in the balance scorecard and someone who has worked for 15 years for Citibank in senior positions across several Asian countries. You can read all about that in his profile. What I want to say is that Nigel is an exceptional leader and an awesome chairman. Over the last 5 years, he has steered the direction of CCGI through the tumultuous times of COVID-19, when the work of most NGOs like ours diminished. Instead, Nigel joined us to support our weekly online discussions on the impact of the pandemic on businesses, and has retained a very visible and active support over all these years. He has offered steadfast leadership, very open to new ideas, and a willingness to step out of the ordinary to allow us to pursue very big, hairy, audacious goals. And we at CCGI could not have asked for a better chairman. His commitment to be here today and the active support in this effort is just yet another example of why we hold him in such high esteem. Nigel, it is my honor to invite you to take over the virtual podium now to introduce our main speaker, Charlotte Valeur. And I would suggest you allow her to present, and then after her presentation, you introduce our 2 panelists, Professor Garrett and Carolyn, so that they can share their thoughts before you moderate the Q&A session. So over to you, Nigel.
Thank you, Kamala. It's good to be here with you all this morning. I'm going to ask you to do something for me, Kamala. I'm going to ask you to introduce the speakers, and then we can get going with the conversation. Thank you.
Well, as a matter of fact, let me share on Charlotte Valeur rather than read her profile, which, as I said, a lot of you would see her full details. And in fact, I will ask our staff to please put on the chat the agenda for today, which includes all of the profiles of our speakers today. For Charlotte, I want to share my personal thoughts. Charlotte, is that okay?
That's very fine for me. Thank you, Kamala.
Okay, great. So Amelia, let's bring on Charlotte onto the screen as well. And I was introduced to Charlotte Valeur by Professor Bob Garrett. And that's one of the reasons Professor Garrett is our global ambassador. There's so much we can say about him as well. But just wanting to start that Charlotte was introduced to CCGI by Professor Garrett. And over the last few years that we have known her, she has served as the opening keynote for our Governance Week signature event of CCGI. But more so, she has been such an inspiration to us as someone who really does innovative and groundbreaking work in this area of governance. She has created what is known as the Board Apprentice, a program to train persons to understand what it is to function effectively in a boardroom. She does a lot of groundbreaking work in the area of diversity, particularly, I think, neurodiversity. She has an excellent finance background, and serves as a board member on a lot of companies, serving as chair as well. So I would invite you to read the details of that, but more so to join me in appreciating the fact that she's someone who really has a willingness to, similarly as our chairman, and I think that's one of the beauties of us at CCGI, being able to attract persons who are like-minded. Charlotte is one of those persons who has amazing ideas and who works to implement them, and so has contributed significantly to the work of governance globally. And we are blessed to have her as part of our CCGI community. So Charlotte, this idea of an alliance of small states is from you. And so it is with great honor that I would ask you to present today.
Thank you so much, Kamala. Thank you so much for the very kind introduction. It's very appreciated. And thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. It's great and an honor for me to be able to present my thoughts on this, which I really did first time 2 years ago when I reached out to a small handful of people in the governance space around the world that I had come across over the years, and Kamala being one of them. When I worked as the chair of the Institute of Directors UK, there were so many different countries that approached us and me directly to get support their own director institutes in the different countries. And there wasn't really an ability to do that or a focus on doing that, not from any of the bigger organizations that have the resources to do it. And as I came away from the IOD, I couldn't let go of the thought that something is missing here in terms of collaboration and working together. There isn't really that sort of proper collaboration between director institutes around the world in helping each other, and especially the smaller organizations from smaller countries to help each other thrive and grow. It's almost as if we are slightly more competing, and even though there's a global GNGI for director institutes, it feels more like coming together and talking about things, but not really getting to the next stage of actually supporting each other. So I thought there must be a way where we can bring a number of especially smaller countries together. So I'm from Denmark originally, at Campbell said. So I know when you're in a smaller country. I was also in Jersey, Channel Islands for 17 years. It's not that easy to gather enough sort of resources to actually lift significant work to be done to make sure that we do enough training and appropriate training, and also come together and have a stronger voice together. So I felt that in today's very otherwise interconnected world, this importance of sound corporate governance can't really be overstated. Corporate governance forms a backbone of our economic stability, fostering trust among investors. You know, especially smaller countries can be quite dependent on outside investment, but also larger countries are, and other stakeholders and the broader public. So I feel that if we gather the resources together, and the resources that are required really to do that, as I said, can be taken from larger countries like the US and Australia that has very large direct organizations. But for the smaller states and sort of mid-sized countries with fewer resources, I feel that they face significant challenges in developing and maintaining these kind of standards independently. Collaboration is really the key here. So the vision I'm having is really one of unity and collaboration. Like I was imagining a global alliance where direct organizations from different countries come together in a true collaboration, pooling their resources, knowledge, and expertise. And this alliance could serve as a powerful platform to address unique needs of the various nations, providing comprehensive support in corporate governance and director development. Through this cooperation, we could create a more equitable and effective system that benefits all, which is what I feel that we need globally to really lift and raise the bar. The primary aim for this global alliance would be to initially to create and deliver high quality content tailored to the needs of directors across various regions. The content can range from a comprehensive director qualification program to specialized corporate governance subjects, and will have input from all countries involved so that we ensure that it works for everyone. We might even find a way where we can all share different content across borders and therefore also, you know, leverage off each other. I felt that by delivering a standardized but yet adaptable curriculum, we could ensure that directors everywhere have access to the knowledge and skills they need to lead effectively. I'm a professor in corporate governance with the University of Strathclyde. I'm looking at putting different corporate governance pieces together that I feel is well needed, and that where there are gaps currently. The director qualification I know already, CAMLA, for example, is running one. Different organizations already have one, but I think we need to share some of this so that all countries have to develop that. And there must be a way of sharing so that everybody can benefit from it on a licensing basis or whatever it might be. But we need to just broaden this up a lot more. So I have a number of points that I feel is needed to achieve us coming together. So one is identifying the needs. So that's really the first step in this journey, is to thoroughly understand the specific needs of direct organizations in smaller countries. It could also be like a startup help, you know, a direct organization in a box if you want to help countries who haven't yet got some to actually start up. I had some conversation with the UN Global Compact a couple of years ago when I first started looking at this, and they were interested in seeing more what we could do. Some countries had approached them around governance and directors wanting to put something together. But for some countries, the kind of things they wanted to push for was possibly not what their government wanted to push for. And what, you know, country we're looking at, because not all governments are that interested in properly running businesses, and we need to take that into account as well and support directors, but also protect directors in those countries through a global alliance like this, so that they don't stand alone trying to improve business in their country, that we're all behind each other. So we need to look at what are the gaps in corporate governance, director development, what unique challenges do each country face, and we would try to conduct like a detailed needs assessment, if you want, where we can tailor our content and support to address these very specific requirements. So another one is the content development and delivery. I think once there is a clear understanding of the needs, the people who want to be involved, we can then develop high quality training materials. I've served on board myself for over 20 years. I've pretty much been involved with every aspect of business and many different industries. I'm currently on a fusion energy board for the UK government, for example, where we're delivering the first prototype of fusion energy plant that delivers to the grid, especially small states would benefit from something like that. Again, if there is an alliance already, that could help bringing some of that to individual countries. It's basically the sun on earth. If you Google it, you will see what it's trying to achieve. It's been worked on for 70 years. And finally, there is a breakthrough that makes it possible to deliver it. That could solve energy problems around the world and diminish dependency on the fossil fuels that we are trying to not use. It is still sort of 10, 15 years away from fully delivered, but these things take time to work with, to push for, and to move on. So the content would be designed to be both rigorous, because that's what I'm used to do for university where I'm a professor, and accessible, ensuring it can be effectively delivered in diverse contexts. And I think that's really important. Yes, diversity is quite a big thing for me. I happen to be autistic myself and have ADHD, so that's driving a lot of my energy and my thinking in many ways. Right and wrong is very important to me, and the understanding of neurodiversity is extremely important to me, because I feel that we're missing a piece in terms of make sure we tap all the different talent that's around us, and we come out in equal numbers around the world. So I think all countries, again, can benefit from looking at some of that as well. So we want to look at training the trainers. A crucial aspect of this strategy would be to empower local direct organizations to become self-sufficient. We want to find a way where there is a sharing of the income from whatever content is there, and the direct organizations are not just, taking content outside and people deliver it and walk away. It's they're hard owning it and owning the income in equal measures as well. And I think that's a really key aspect of this strategy that has not been proposed to anyone yet. People are very busy making their own content and then holding on to it, where my thinking is that we should share it in such a way that organizations can build themselves and grow from that, ensure they can hire people to run it for them, because as you know better than any, Kamla, it's pretty difficult to do this on an all voluntary basis, right? We need to have a commercial mind and make sure that we commercialize it for everybody involved, so that we have full-time employees to help us. We will focus on developing trainers within each country, equipping them with the knowledge and skills to deliver our content effectively. So create a sustainable model through this, where local organizations can generally continue to educate and support their directors long after the initial training. And then, after behind that, we will bring up new training all the time in various aspects, like AI and, data governance, the kind of things that are not easily available in different places. We could this way develop a global bench of trainers, which could be used to go between the different countries and thereby also learn from each other. I mean, this is multi-collaboration I'm talking about. It's not, us coming in and giving, it's everybody working together. So global bench trainers could be maintained at the central level, and these expert trainers could be drawn from around the world, will be available to deliver training as needed and ensure that high quality instruction is always accessible. The bench of trainers could also serve as a valuable resource for sharing best practices and staying updated on the latest development in corporate governance. The fifth point of this is economic sustainability. To ensure the long-term viability of our initiative, we'll organize our efforts so that local direct organizations can generate income by delivering the training in the respective countries. And as I already said, by creating these opportunities, the organizations will grow financially and will not only enhance their capacity to support these directors, but also strengthen their voices in advocating for good governance practices. The final one is global advocacy. When you have many countries and people coming together, we can speak with a unified voice. We can have various, what's it called? It went away from my mind. Initiatives where we ask everybody different questions. The word has escaped me, sorry. Where we can go in and look at, for example, the UN Sustainable Development Goals and how we all together push towards that, how we're looking at the Global Compact, 10 principles, and how we all push towards that. And we can influence what they do in the very large international institutions, such as the UN, whom I work with already on neurodiversity, for example, and ensure that we don't stand alone as a small country. All of us stand together and we get our voice together. We find out through surveys, that was a word for surveys, where we all put our voices to play. So I personally feel, and I'm happy to be corrected by anyone, I feel that there's benefits of global alliance that are manifold. It promotes a higher standard of corporate governance across all the participating countries. And by providing directors with the necessary training and resources, we ensure that they're well equipped to navigate the complexities of modern businesses. This in turn fosters trust and confidence among investors and stakeholders and attracts more investment and promote economic growth. This is at least what's going on in my head with regards to this. Secondly, the alliance could facilitate knowledge sharing and collaboration. This is the whole core of it. Collaboration is one of my core value words and one that I always love seeing many people collaborate. It really does lift the impact of what we all have. By bringing together direct organizations from diverse backgrounds, we create this rich tapestry of experiences and insights. This collaborative environment allows for the exchange of best practices, innovative ideas, and effective strategies, and it benefits all members of the alliance, or whatever we want to call it. So thirdly, the alliance empowers smaller countries especially to have a stronger voice in this global stage. By enhancing their corporate governance framework and their director capabilities, these nations can participate more actively in international discussions and decision-making processes. And that is super important. Being a minority myself, I know what it feels like when you feel small compared to the big majority, and it doesn't feel great, but it feels great when we can come together and become a heavy voice. This inclusivity, in my view, ensures that perspectives and needs of smaller countries will be more taken into account and lead to a more balanced and equitable outcome for all of us. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this creation of the Global Alliance for Direct Organizations of small countries and mid-sized countries is not just a vision. For me, it's a necessity. In a world where economic disparities can undermine stability and progress, it's imperative that we come together to support each other. By pooling our resources, knowledge, and expertise, we can create a powerful force for positive change. So if we can, or some can commit to this vision of unity and collaboration, we'd love to work together to elevate corporate governance standards, enhance director capabilities, ensure that every nation, regardless of size, has the tools and support needed to thrive. Together, we can create a brighter future for businesses and societies around the world this way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. That was inspiring. So I'm going to introduce Professor Bob Garrett, our CCGI Global Ambassador, and we love Professor Garrett very, very dearly. Of course, he's an international consultant and academic. He specializes in